The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
I was reading an amazing story about a fellow by the name of Ari, who a number of years back, he was sitting in his home, and he was he was in his home in Long Island, and he was about to head out to work. And his wife all of a sudden yells to him from upstairs. She said, "Ari, did you do Baruch's school order yet?" He said, "Oh no, I forgot about Baruch's school order." Baruch was their 8-year-old son, and he was supposed to order his lunch and his books the night before online. He was supposed to do that together with Baruch, but he came back late from work, and Baruch was already sleeping. Well, today was the deadline to get that done, and his wife screamed out to him. She said, "Ari, you're not leaving the house until you do it." What am I supposed to do? My wife said, "I'm not leaving," so that's it. So he sat down with Baruch by the computer, and he put together the order, and they submitted it. And after that, Ari went off to work. Well, he ended up coming late, and he missed his train that day, and he got to work much later than usual. The thing is that day was September 11th, 2001, and Ari Schonbrunn, who was working for Cantor Fitzgerald, which was on the 101st floor of the North Tower, because he came late that day, he was on the 76th floor at the time when the plane hit into the tower, and the plane hit between the 93rd floor and the 99th floor. And he was on the 76th floor, and he heard what happened, and he heard the bomb, and etc. That's what he thought it was. And he began to head down the stairwell immediately. And Ari said that his life was changed that day forever. And he said that all of the 685 Cantor Fitzgerald employees that were on the 101st floor that day all lost their lives. And he would have been the 686th, if not for showing up a little bit late because of Baruch's order. And he said that was just the beginning of recognizing all the miracles that took place. He said that when he was headed down the stairwell, there was a coworker of his that was hurt and said, "Please don't leave me." And he said, "You know what? I'm going to help you. Come down. Don't worry about it." And he helped this coworker go down the steps. And in the middle of the stairwell, all of a sudden, his cell phone rang. And he looked at his phone and he saw that it was his wife. And he picked up the phone and she said, "There's a plane that just hit the building. I thought that you were dead." He said, don't worry, everything is fine. I'm okay." And he hung up the phone. But Ari said, never, ever in his history of working there and being in that stairwell did his cell phone ever have reception. But all of a sudden, that time when his wife called, in order to comfort his wife at that time, the phone worked. Somebody else asked him right afterwards if he could use his phone, if he could borrow it. And he said, sure, and he gave him the phone. And as this fellow tried to dial, the reception went dead. Ari continued down, helping the coworker go all the way down. And they were instructed to go to the garage. But when they got down to the garage, there was a voice that all of a sudden said, No, you can't go out this way. There's no way out. You have to go back up. Well, they went back up to the first floor, and they got out, and Ari had called an ambulance immediately for this coworker. And he was about to send the coworker off in the ambulance. He figured everything's okay. But she said, "Ari, could you please stay? I'm so nervous." So he felt that it would be appropriate, he felt that it would be good for her to go in the ambulance with her as well. He said, well, he went into the ambulance, and the ambulance drove off, and shortly after, the tower fell down, and he said that pretty much everybody that was there in that vicinity, on that site, perished at that time. And today, Ari Schonbrunn goes around as a motivational speaker, telling everybody about what took place. And he says that, because of what happened on that day, and because of all these miracles that he reflected on, he said his life changed forever. He said, despite the fact that I was a religious Jew before, he said, but, there were times in life when I lost sight of what was really important. He said, was I really aware of what I was doing throughout my davening, throughout my learning, throughout all the mitzvahs that I was doing? Or did I just do the minimum that I was required to do to get away with it? But he said, after 9/11, everything changed. Ari says that just as he can list the miracles that happened to him on 9/11, he could also list the changes that he made in his life, in his dedication to Torah and to mitzvos. He says now he doesn't talk in shul anymore. During davening, he's fully focused on his davening. He says there's no more excuses when it comes to my kids' events, being there as a loving father towards my children. He said, I've been working on my kas, my anger, and now I have much less temper. I've devoted more time towards my Jewish learning to be able to dedicate myself to Torah. And when it comes to davening, Ari doesn't miss 3 times a day davening with a minyan. And he says he's 100% happier now. In his book, where he talks about all that took place, he offers some advice. He says that you need to recognize the hand of Hashem in your life. We need to stop and think and appreciate all that Hashem has done for us and how Hashem has brought me to the place that I am today and how Hashem is guiding every single aspect of my life.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org